going to be close to. And lots of families, you know, come together and try to enjoy it together. Because it's a passionate affair, very often there's more heartache at Christmas time than any other time of the year, because passion ends in distress. And unfortunately more people get killed on the roads, and more people die of overindulgence than any other time of the year, which is really sad, because it's actually the birth of the Lord Jesus. I presume it is anyway, that there are some schools of thought that say he was born at a different time, but whatever. But this is Christmas is the quintessential time of bonhomie and giving rather than receiving. And at Christmas the devotees go out, and this year they did they distributed I don't know, many thousands, tens of thousands of books. So it's nice to think that even after so many years of Srila Prabhupada's leaving the planet, still his books are getting out there to the general populace. So this is what happened here anyway. I just spoke to Sundar Prabhu, and he said that it's been one of the best years ever for book distribution numbers. Radha-Krishna, welcome. So that's really, really wonderful news. I remember my own self. I had one of Prabhupada's books before I was devoted, and I remember reading it. It was The Science of Self-Realization, which is quite a famous one for hooking people's hearts, you know. And I remember I read it, and I thought, oh my God, this is real. This stuff is real. I'm not sure I want this. So I chucked it onto the shelf and left it for a couple of years, because I realised that at that time I preferred to be a seeker rather than a finder. I didn't really want to find, because if I found, then I had to stop doing it my way, in my Frank Sinatra way, and do it Krishna's way. So I left it alone for a year or two, and then I started to become very interested in maybe becoming a Christian. So I prayed to God, my dear Lord, please send me a nice Christian who can explain some of the things that I don't either agree with or don't understand in the Bible. Because Lord Jesus is a very wonderful, attractive person. His story is so wonderfully captures the heart. So a couple of nights later, there was a knock on the door, and this Indian man said, I understand that you're interested in God. So I said, yes, I am, yeah. So he said, can I come in? So I said, yeah, you can come in. So at this time we lived in quite a big house. I was still sort of quite successful materially, and we had these big walls, and we didn't know who lived next door, but it was the next door neighbour. And he was a retired head teacher of a teacher's training college in Agra. And I didn't know at the time, but he was a Ram Bhakta. He was a devotee of Lord Ram. Have you heard of Lord Ram, young lady? You haven't? Okay, so Ram is one of the special incarnations of God that comes to the earth. Many different incarnations come throughout the ages to attract us back, to try to remind us, you know, what we've forgotten. So he was not a devotee of Krishna, but he was a devotee of Ram. It's maybe sounds a little complicated, but God is one, but he expands himself into many different incarnations to attract the different living entities of different types. So Ram is as good as Krishna in that sense. He may manifest a different type of pastime or different type of attractiveness to the living entities, but he's the same as Krishna. So he came into my house, and I had a very special room where I was doing healing and helping people and all that stuff. I thought I was very spiritually advanced. It's around about 1970, 78, something like that. And he said, I offered him a seat, and he said, "What do you do?" And I spoke on about how great I was, how fantastic I was at doing this and doing that. And, you know, I'm doing this healing and I'm doing that, and I've opened up a herb shop and I'm helping people. And I thought this was like I thought I was pretty advanced. But anyway, after he listened to me, Haribo Reda, oh, it's best to take his shoes off, yeah. And, sorry, people don't know. So anyway, I didn't know so many things when I was at that time, especially thought I was advanced, which was a big mistake. So then at the end of it, he listened to me very politely, and then he said, "What do you know about Ram?" I said, "Well, I've seen those mad Hare-Krishnas, probably Radha-Krishna was one of them at the time, on the street in Soho. I've seen the mad Hare-Krishnas, that's about it really." So he said, "Okay." So then he got out the Ramayana and he started to read from the Ramayana, and it was so amazingly attractive to me. Within half an hour, that was it. My material life was over, so to speak, and my spiritual life had begun. So everybody needs someone to guide them, someone to direct them. Krishna says that we should try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. And sometimes, if we're lucky, the spiritual master will approach us. When Arjuna says to Krishna, what happens when people die and they haven't perfected their life? Do they perish like a ribbon cloud with no position in any sphere? This is in Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna says to him, no. In his next life, I get him born into a family of righteous people, or as a yogi, or aristocratic kind of person. And then even without seeking it, some or other, that person becomes again attractive to yogic principles. So that certainly wasn't my case, even though a very nice man came to tell me about Krishna and just decided to give me a little bit of mercy. It's like an exceptional case. But the fact holds true that we do need to have someone to guide us. We can't really make it on our own. Srila Prabhupada is our main guiding force in ISKCON, our movement ISKCON. And he is a part of the disciplic succession which goes right the way back, thousands and thousands of years to Krishna. So Krishna came 5,000 years ago, but if this is eternal, if this Sanatana Dharma, eternal duty of the soul, of the living entity, is eternal, Krishna only came 5,000 years ago. So what happened before that? So Krishna explains, Imam vivashvate yogam proktavam aham avyayam. Mano ikshvakave praha, abravit. Abravit, I can't remember, go on. Kali Yuga brain, I'll get it in a second. Do you remember what it is? So I can't, it just goes sometimes, Mano ikshvakave. Asito devalo vyasa. So he says that in the beginning of time, because Arjuna says to him after this, hang on a second, you're saying you told this to the sun god, and the sun god told it to Manu, and Manu told it to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku told it to Manu, the father of mankind. This you're talking about millions and millions of years ago, billions of years ago. But the sun god is senior by birth, and you just taken birth, So he says, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, Arjuna. So Arjuna starts to be, Krishna starts to create a picture for Arjuna to understand why he's speaking Bhagavad Gita and why he has the right to speak it. So he says right at the beginning, I taught it to, but even before that, we find out that in the Upanishads and Puranas, and also in Brahma Samhita, we find that Krishna was there right at the beginning of time. Eko Devo Nitya Vilano Rakto Bhakta. That from age to age, he comes in in many different incarnations to attract the living entities and to bring them back. He comes to stop the bad that's going on, which inevitably it does, and to establish the good that should be going on for our benefit, and also to re-establish, to give the devotees pleasure, and to re-establish the principles of spiritual life again. So, right at the beginning of time, the creation, which goes billions and billions and billions of births, way beyond our ability to understand. It's like if I said there's 12 million people living in London, you think, that's a lot of people. But our experience of a lot of people is probably 200,000 or 300,000 at a Hyde Park concert for the Rolling Stones or something. So we try to imagine what 12 million people is like. It's very difficult for us to actually do that, but we think we can understand it. But then, if you try to understand that you've had that many births, and then multiply it by maybe another billion, who knows, then you can get some small idea that it's way off the scale what Krishna is actually talking about here. But still he says, at the beginning of time, Brahma appeared, and he gives he gives the whole process of how he appears, which is long and quite complicated, but amazing. And then Brahma comes into a darkened universe, because at that time, no planets, no, it's just the shell of the universe in darkness. And Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, which is an expansion of Krishna, is laying there in the darkness. And from his tummy comes a lotus flower, and from the top of that lotus flower, Brahma is born. And then Brahma is in the darkness. He doesn't know, and he's the most intelligent person in the universe. The most intelligent person. If you see someone who's really good or really quick, can come back quick with a quick answer, or can add up numbers quickly, or can, recite long shlokas or prose or whatever. You think, wow, Brahma's, these are just a little afterthought of Brahma. He's like, and he's got 4 heads. They're all thinking at the same time, hatching up amazing plans to do the creation. But what creation? How? And where? He doesn't know, he's in the dark. Then he hears this word, tapa. You must be austere and make some sacrifices. So he just, from within the heart, he realizes he has to sit in yoga, and for 1,000 celestial years. I mean, that is a long time, not 1,000 years, a celestial year, which is millions of times longer. So he sits there in the darkness, and then he hears Krishna's flute playing, coming from the spiritual world into the material world where he is. And he starts to begin to build up. It comes to him in the form of Om, or the flute sound comes to him manifest in the form of Om. And from that, he's filled with all the information that he needs to create. So you see, again, Krishna is the guru, and we have Brahma as the disciple. And then from Brahma comes all the other great demigods, the great sages, the 7 great sages, this is the that's. You read it all in Bhagavatam in 2nd, 3rd cantos. And once all of these great characters, the Kumaras, they come in, they're born from Brahma's mind, then progeny starts to be created, and from those progeny, from all the different great souls that come in, then all the different aspects of creation, animals, plant life, of course the different planets then start to manifest. And then they are peopled with all these different living entities. And so it goes on. But still, when you study, you see again, Krishna says that we have to approach a spiritual master. And so each one of them is taught verbally by their guru, and the guru teaches their disciple, and the disciple goes on and teaches their disciple, and so on and so forth. So all this knowledge is passed down from the time immemorial, right way down to this moment. And so Srila Prabhupada is a person in that line, the unbroken line. Sometimes the knowledge gets lost, or the line gets broken, and then a great soul comes in. and revitalizes and revives the line. When Kali Yuga started, this age that we're living in now is the most difficult age. You must have had a few problems in your time, I guess, even though you're young. I think you hate this now. But everybody's had problems. And if we look around the world, everybody's fighting, isn't it? If you look around, you see on the news, someone's fighting someone doesn't agree with someone wants to, upset another person and take out arms. And very easily, people get very offended. So in this age of Kali, very, very difficult time,